We've seen this slide a number of times. In a number of fashion, where people say that in the last 30 years, we kind of evolved in 3 IT waves. The first wave was, the mainframe era, where you had a monolithic system and a dumb terminal where you had all the access being provisioned. The second wave happened where, people like, the Dells of the world decided and brought to the world a client-server-based architecture, which is, typically merchant silicon-based hardware. And then we're talking virtualized environment today. Nothing new, nothing fancy about it. But in the entire slide pack, one of the things which get truly missed is what is happening to the end user experience, right? In the mainframe era, as an end consumer, what you experienced was a monolithic system, some black box, I don't care what the black box was, and a dumb terminal as an access. 30 years later, we went through all that fancy stuff. And what virtualization is doing is exactly the same thing from an end user perspective. You will have a system, a cloud, a hardware, a consolidated system, and you will have a virtual environment where you will access all your consolidated hardware together. The only thing that will distinguish these 30 years is how do you do virtualization. If you build it like a monolithic system, we are going back 30 years rather than moving forward. And that's the key theme for today's discussion. Now, before I step into virtualization, it's very important to understand that the first key step when you start to do virtualization is to converge. And every vendor, every individual has a different understanding of what it means by convergence, right? So I put up a slide to highlight what convergence is that I'm talking of. You can converge people's physical virtual environments, and that is what I call the converged operations, right? That's not what the discussion is about today. You can converge application and services, which is threading across the different layers of people and the processes you're talking of. That is not the discussion we're having today. What we are here to discuss is the converged infrastructure, where I'm trying to bring different hardwares from a server, compute, a storage, networking platform onto one consolidated layer, and how do we build a virtualized environment around it. That's what is the level of convergence I'm talking in today's discussion. Now, why convergence? Why do we need to talk about convergence? You can see this matrix in various forms, okay? And overwhelmingly, people believe that in the next 3 years from now, 2016 to be precise, more than half of our world will be virtualized, like it or not. In the form of clouds, in the form of private clouds, in the form of consolidated hardware, this is where we will eventually land onto, okay? What will converge? So what is that we're talking in terms of convergence, right? We are talking of convergence at the hardware layer, which is the server, storage, networking, the management and the orchestration as one platform, and that is what we say when we say convergence, right? How do we converge? This is very tricky, okay? If you try and bring the hardware in discrete forms, pick up a hardware from this guy and a hardware from this guy and try and blend it together, you could have a system which is very loosely tied. It won't work. If it is very expensive, when you start to put things together, it won't fly. If you make it very inflexible, it does not give you the true benefit of what virtualization is all about. So this is a very important, and as I said, if it is not open, in the entire endeavor of virtualization, we'll go back 30 years to build up a monolithic system that we eventually scrapped and move on, to a virtualized environment. So very important parameter here is open. And the last one is that when do we converge? And every individual in every organization will have a different reason for convergence, a different reason for virtualization. It could be operative ergonomics, it could be workload awareness, and all of these parameters, all of these reasons would be different from a different organization perspective. Now, 3 strategies. You have 3 strategies which you can adopt to move towards a converged environment. The first one is scale down. How can I condense so much of hardware? How can I condense so much of compute and storage and networking into a composite system? Make it as small and as potent as possible, because eventually what I would care about as an end consumer, as an end user, is a VM. I do not need to go beyond, and say that how that VM got structured. All I care about is the VM. And eventually, as time progresses, you'll see that as a consumer, you will start to demand from vendors that can I buy 100 VMs from you? I don't care what that translates into number of hardware. What kind of networking, what kind of storage. All I care for is a VM at this quantity with this specifications. And this is a step forward to say, how do you do this, which is the scale down strategy. The second strategy is the scale up strategy. which you take discrete elements. You take the server, storage, networking, hardware, orchestration, OS, put together to make a composite solution, which is pre-structured, pre-approved, prefabricated, and shipped across to you. The scale-up strategy. And the last one is the scale-out strategy, which is how do I go beyond a system, right? So I can choose a system which is scaled down and have a blend of system which is a rack-based and a scale-up system. How do I make it a large fabric and build beyond what these systems can do? And that is what the scale-out strategy is. And I'll go deeper into each one of them in subsequent slides. If you look at the scale, the scale-down strategy, this is one of the examples I'm trying to highlight of what we do, right? Imagine, look at all of you are from distinguished organizations, and I'm sure you'll understand a bit of technology because that's what I'm talking here today. Imagine if you have 512 cores in a 10U space. That's very potent, right? I mean, you look at what kind of server capacities you have, what kind of server cores you have. 512 cores in a 10U kind of a capacity with 25 terabytes of storage and 1.2 Gbps of switching capacity, all in one box. Everything in one box. And that is what we call a data center in a box. And what it basically does to you is that all the traffic, those 512 cores, 32 servers or 16 servers, depending on what kind of architecture you do, will generate. What they would do is they will create traffic. You buy such potent hardware so that you could use it to the maximum capacity, so that you can load it with the maximum capacity, right? You would virtualize them. You would want them to deliver the maximum output. They will create traffic. All that traffic, the way the first generations of these composite systems were engineered was to take it out to a switch because that's how the system was done. Imagine if you could bring the entire switch, the entire inter-server routing, switching capacities inside the system. You don't need to have a switch. You don't need to have any cables going out of the box. This entire hardware, this entire system can do all that is required for traffic movement inside the system in its own. It's got 32 internal ports, and it's got 6 into 40 gig ports going straight to your core. You can essentially have your data center running out of just one box with 512 core servers in a 10U capacity. Let's look at the scale-up strategy, right? Now, every environment, when you try and build a virtualized environment, a converged or a data center environment, you have all these blocks. You have server, storage, networking, you have management, you have virtualization, orchestration layer. What we have done here is that combine all of them, just combine all of them and accelerate that into a prefabricated block, which comes pre-shipped to you, where you basically have to just plug in a power into it. Which means you get a rack loaded with server, storage, networking, all wired, OS loaded, virtualization layer loaded. All you have to do is just power it up, and it's up and running, pre-provisioned. Right? It is a quick route to you to a converged infrastructure. And if you look at the blocks of what we deliver, as I said, it's a compatible hardware which is pre-tested, prefabricated, pre-engineered to say that the storage, networking, and compute work seamlessly. Right? You have the option of deciding whether you want VMware-based orchestration or you want a Microsoft Hyper-V-based orchestration. You have the flexibility to say, I want a system pre-engineered for 50 VMs or up to 1,000 VMs. You have the option to say, can you give me a system which is pre-engineered for a VDI application, for a private cloud, or for any enterprise application, and all of that runs through a single management enterprise suite. Just one system shipped across to you, no integration at site, everything pre-done. Okay? Let me quickly change gears and move out to the scale-out strategy. The scale-out strategy is presuming that everything remains the same. You have the same composite system, the server, storage, and networking. It relies purely on the networking fabric strategies. How do you build your network so that the inter-rack traffic communication, the inter-system traffic communication is more attuned towards a virtualized environment? Okay? Now what this basically means that all that you know about networks, you had 3-layered architecture, and you had a core which was supposed to be big, and you had networks which were supposed to connect servers. It's all gone. Because that was an era where the data centers were primarily engineered for traffic all coming from outside. So you have someone sending traffic inside, doing some workload, and going out. And let me tell you something very simple and interesting, because all of us are consumers, right? All of us use social media, right? We use Facebook, we use LinkedIn and stuff like that, right? Now, imagine what happens when you try and log into your Facebook page. That is one single request coming inside the Facebook data center. That one request generates 200 plus database queries inside the server, which goes across the racks. And that is a traffic profile which nobody envisaged so many years back, because now you have dynamic pages, right? One request creating 200 plus database queries, and you try and extrapolate that to all the enterprise applications, all the, the portals that you're trying to run in your e-governance space, and all of them work exactly the same way. So which means the traffic patterns are building very heavy across east-west, which is from a rack to rack and across the racks. And that basically means that you will have to look at very, very innovative solutions to engineer and manage your systems, right? The other very interesting thing here is that you know of servers being virtualized, right? All of us know server being virtualized. We're doing it for so many years. We know of storage being virtualized. How many of us know of networking being virtualized? Networking are the last standing block in the entire virtualized game, and that is going to break down. The other important thing is that from a monolithic system, where look at the mainframe, monolithic, and then came an era where people said, it doesn't work for me, right? I need to have merchant silicon-based systems which I can cluster them together. I can have the same performance levels at what a mainframe can give me today. The same thing happened on storage, right? The same thing is happening on the networking side. You do not need to have a big system, a big switch, a noisy platform, something which is power consuming to say it's a core. You could build a core with a fixed configuration hardware with merchant silicon chipset, and that's exactly what is happening in the market. I have a snapshot of a Gartner report which came this February, in fact, which says that what is that you would get if you move on to the fixed configuration based hardware. It's completely miraculous, and I'm sure nobody can read the slide, including me. So I highlighted two very important things, what that report basically says. It's all there on the portal. The first thing is that it delivers more performance, reliability, and scale. Imagine, it goes against all logic, right? We were supposed to believe that you have to buy a big device to have better performances, to have better reliability, and a better scale. It's all wrong. It's all gone. This is a smaller composite fixed configuration hardware will be able to do more. The second thing, you will be able to reduce your CapEx investment by 30 to 70% and OpEx by 30%. This is what Gartner says, right? And I can give you live examples of people running as many as 30,000 10 gig servers across 20,000 racks running on fixed configuration hardware. That's the scale you can actually reach with this kind of hardware, right? So we're talking of hyperscale. We're talking of a scale which you can start from a couple of servers, 10 servers, 15 servers, and go up to 100,000 servers, 30,000 servers is a live example I broadly gave you, right? What is very interesting is that anyone can give you scale. Any solution vendor will say, sir, madam, if you want to have a solution for 10 servers, I can give you a solution. If you want a solution for 100,000 servers, I can give you a solution. What is really magical is that, can he give you the same product, which will scale from this capacity to 100,000 to a 30,000 size is the question. Because eventually, the moment we speak about a path-breaking innovation, a path-breaking investment like e-governance in our space, we are talking of phenomenal scale. We're talking of inclusion here. We're talking of 1.2 billion people, which will eventually come on each and every system that we put. Eventually, not now. And you do not want to be on a platform where you would say that beyond a certain capacity, I cannot grow. This system cannot grow. I'll have to throw away and go to the next level. This is a system where it will scale as your business requirements scales, and that is what. So if you look at what Tolly did, they took this claim and said, let's go and test these guys and say what these guys are saying is right or wrong. This is an actual snapshot of a Tolly report, just as a reference to substantiate the claims I'm trying to make here, right? They say that you use the same hardware, multiple blocks of the same hardware, to give 500 ports of 10G full line rate. The same hardware, increase the number of hardware and the interconnects between them, you can go up to 2,000 nodes of 10 gig full line rate. Imagine one logical switch with 2,000 ports of 10 gig. And you could start from as small as 64, go up to there. And if you want to go beyond, nothing stops you to going beyond 30,000, 60,000, 70,000 ports. Just keep growing. That's the phenomenal capacity. The other important thing, which I kind of mentioned on this slide, is that it's a phenomenal advantage in terms of the OpEx reduction. Just imagine if I could bring down your power consumption, not by 10%, 15%, by 10 times. That means a lot, right? Networks are not revenue generating. Networks have no meaning if you cannot bring the power back to your servers and your storage, because that's where the business runs, right? Every bit of power I can consume in a resource-constrained country, in a resource-constrained setup like the way we are living in, it brings value to the table. You can do so much more, and that's what the strong thing that you can do. So this entire scale-out strategy delivers immense power savings, as much as 77% power savings, not reduction. Okay, it gives you save a lot of money, and the reason why you save a lot of money is not because it's a cheap system; it's because it's merchant silicon. Nobody writes the chipset. I just buy chipset from the standard open market, and that's how you are able to operationalize it, to a more capex-based investment. The second very important parameter is that we're talking of scale, we're talking of inclusion. Everyone knows that everything that we put has to eventually go and touch 1.2 billion people and growing in the country. So it has to scale phenomenally, right? The only successful physical law which has stood the test of time is Moore's law, which says every 18 months the capacities will double. This entire system of what we're talking of is based on the same Moore's law, which says today you have 10G capacities or 40G capacities which are very prevalent. And take my word for it, 18 months from now, we will be able to double the capacity just by quickly migrating this hardware or this platform into a 10G and a 400G platform, and a 400G, for your kind of information, is already moving towards being a ratified standard. You can phenomenally, the lifespan of technology is reducing so very fast that all of this is true value that you can bring on the table, right? Now, as I said, networks is the last standing fort in the virtualization world. Servers got virtualized a long time back. Storage got virtualized. Networking is the last bone, which is left in the entire, plethora of IT fraternity, which is not virtualized. And I can tell you, as we speak, it's falling down. And what is causing it to fall down is all these new kind of applications, whether it is analytics, whether it is migration, whether it's HPC clusters, whether it's cloud, whether it is the virtualization environment. All of that is bringing down network to its needs, to a newer framework, and that is what we call the software-defined networking. Now, as I said, this software-defined networking will ensure that networks participate real-time, in a true sense, in true participation in a virtualized world. And what software-defined networking basically will do is that if you go back and understand the networking industry or networking offerings, right? It's a monolithic system like a mainframe, right? You buy a switch from a vendor. The same vendor may or may not make the chipset. The same vendor obviously does his own source code. You cannot port a different hardware on a different source code. It has to be the same source code. It's a monolithic system. And in the last 15, 20 years that this industry has been, we ended up having 5,000 plus standards and protocols for all of these devices to speak to each other. And go back to your IT manager. His biggest nightmare would be, sir, if you're buying a system from one vendor, I am not sure whether this will work with the other vendor system, because although they all speak the same standard, I may not know which parameter might drop on the wrong side. It just might end up making the entire system unacceptable. And the reason why we did that is because the systems were built completely monolithic, right? You had to do it this way. What software-defined networking would do is that strip off the brain from each and every hardware. Each and every hardware need not have the brain. If they would not have the brain, they would not have the capacity to process. And we would build out, or people in the industry will build out, standard-based controllers which will control all these non-brained entities in the system, which will completely take away all the complexities. And that is what software-defined networking would do. And if this brain sits and resides on the virtualization layer, Imagine what level of flexibility you would have in terms of having a single pane of virtualized environment for storage, compute, and networking. And that's exactly what is the virtualization strategy from a data center perspective, right? So you have the functionality where you could build something completely greenfield, using a software-defined controller. You have the flexibility to run your legacy systems using open architectures, and you will have a gateway-based philosophy or a gateway-based engagement to interface between or run a networking overlay or a software-defined overlay on standard-based networks, right? So Dell at your service. So what is that in the entire, in the slide pack that we did? What does Dell do? What is that Dell has to offer in the entire offering, right? If I had to put one single slide to say what is that we offer in this space, this would be the slide, right? It basically states that we have the offerings to connect, from a data center perspective, we have the offerings to connect your storage, iSCSI, or FC interconnections, your rack-based, your blade-based servers on a 1 gig, 10 gig, 40 gig interconnection. We have the offerings to have specialized hardware for very specialized applications. You want a very intense virtualized environment, and you want to have a network which can understand intensity of a virtualized environment. We have specialized hardware to do that. You want very specialized hardware for trading, for low latency trading. We have specialized hardware to do that. And then we have specialized hardware to form very large fabrics, which is the distributed core, or in case you are a customer who has a very predictable BIST requirement, we have a chassis-based core. All of that is under the same framework of what I spoke about in terms of having a common platform for automation and a common platform for orchestration, right? Now, in terms of where did Dell stand in the entire game, well, if you look at the Gartner's Magic Quadrant, this is the first time Gartner came out with the Magic Quadrant for the data center networking. They recognize Dell as a niche player with the best execution capabilities. Let me repeat, a niche player with the best execution capabilities. That's the first time that this came up from a data center networking perspective. From the quantifiable parameters of where we stand in this space, and this comes as news to many people because none of you would actually know that we are there. We are number 2 in terms of 40G shipments. We are number 3 in terms of 10G, and overall networking, Ethernet networking, we are number 3 worldwide. This is something which people are not very aware of. So if I have to leave this podium on one slide, and what do I leave to you as a key message, it would be this slide. What I'm going to leave you with is 9 key network imperatives when you set up your network for a virtualized one. The first one is the right strategy, right? Whether you want to go for a scale down, a scale out, or a scale up is the right strategy. You have to select based on your requirement, your business, your proceeding workloads, which one suits you the best. We have offerings for, or in fact, people have offerings for all the space, right? The second thing is convergence. The virtualization will not be successful ever if you do not bring the hardware together in one form or the other. So convergence at all layers is very important. The third thing is, let's not forget the first slide, open systems, right? If you do not make the systems open, if you buy something which is very closely tied and proprietary and locked down, you have all the tendencies to go back 30 years and end up having a monolithic system like a mainframe. Okay? Operative ergonomics. Do not forget, this is the time when you are going for a major IT refresh. Take the time out to understand how do I take this, take this time to or take this change to bring down my operative cost or in terms of power savings, rack savings, operative ergonomics, and this is one thing which is very important, right? Right fabrics at scale, it's very important. We're talking of business growing, more and more people adding on whatever applications or whatever business models they're trying to work, and as we've seen through the last 2 days, everyone's screaming out to our face and saying the data will grow, users will grow, activities will grow. So you have to have the right fabrics day one, which allows you to scale big, right? Scale to business, very important, right? Our business here as the consortium today is to have inclusion of 1.2 billion people and growing as we speak, right? So eventually your systems have to reach that landmark to say, we made it, we are successful. And that will only happen when you have the scale of business, right? Unified orchestration, okay? Everything being managed as one single game, right? You cannot say I have an orchestration system to orchestrate virtualized environment for a server, different from a networking and different from a storage. It just does not work. As I said, as an end consumer, as an end user, all you care for is a virtualized environment, which is one single VM machine. Does not matter which hardware, which network element it basically decides on. It has to be simple and flexible. IT is changing so fast as things progress. Next time we have this 15th edition, and I'm not sure what would be the hottest topic, because these things are evolving so very fast. That if your systems are not flexible, it'll all collapse. Your time of IT refresh, the cycle of IT refresh is shrinking, with every passage day. And the last thing, which is very important, is open mind. All that we know of, of the way systems used to be, are all that 15 years, 20 years, 30 plus years of knowledge that we have on IT systems. You have to keep behind us and look forward-looking things, which will take us to the next generation platforms. Okay, that's all from my side.